Roll him up.
The film Uncharted is based on a video game with the same name and follows the story of Nathan Drake and Victor Sullivan, aka Sully, going on a globe-trotting adventure to find the lost treasure of the Magellan expedition. From crashing an auction to steal a golden crucifix, to searching an underground crypt in Barcelona, to hanging out of a cargo plane by your feet. Now that all sounds like very exciting stuff, but high action set pieces and tomb raiding in exotic places can only get you so far. You'll need good characters to go along with on this journey. But this is where the film baffles me the most. Let's start with Nate and Sully. Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg give it 100% here. Holland doesn't put a foot wrong as Nate. Starting as a smart talking but low level thief, but then getting a bit out of his depth and having to change his attitude on the fly as he goes on his little treasure hunt. Wahlberg steps into the mentor role as Sully, and if this was a double act, he'd be the straight man. He's more than happy to let Nate do all the work and slip out the back and leave him behind if things go tits up. Holland and Wahlberg have really good chemistry on screen, and there are bits in this film where these two make me chuckle, and I feel there's a genuine friendship brewing. But I will say the scene where they meet for the first time is pretty lackluster, and it basically goes, "Hey, I've got a job coming up. You want in? No.
5 minutes later.
You want in now? Alright." But on the other hand, Sully does have a reason to call on Nate specifically, and that's fine. Holland and Wahlberg are very entertaining to watch on screen. So why does that baffle me so much? Well, it's because these two are in the wrong film together. Let me explain. When I found out that Mark Wahlberg was going to be in Uncharted, I thought, great, he'd make a perfect Nathan Drake. He's got the look, he can play witty characters very well, but he can also play on the goofy side. And even though he can struggle playing smart characters, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. But when I found out that Tom Holland was playing Nathan Drake, I was like, what? I don't mean to sound horrible, but Holland shouldn't be in this film. He looks way too young. I see what they were going for here, and I have no problem with filmmakers taking creative liberties while adapting something to the big screen. In fact, I encourage it. It's just that Tom Holland playing Nathan Drake would work in a different movie. It just doesn't work here. But at least he has some of the charm from the original character. But Wahlberg, oh boy. Wahlberg's Sully has no resemblance here. He is completely different from the character in the game. No deep voice, no cigar, no grey hair in sight. Sure, both Sullys want to find treasure and get rich. But so does every other character in this film. So that completely means f*** all. Again, Holland and Wahlberg did nothing wrong here. They were good in this film. It's just sometimes the film feels like it's about a teenage boy going on an adventure with his long lost cool uncle. So when it comes to those two characters, nothing really shouts Uncharted. Also, we have the crafty Chloe Fraser, and I mean crafty. Literally, she is willing to double, even triple cross anyone to get her hands on that treasure. Well played by Sophia Ali. She fits in well with the banter and the shenanigans of Nate and Sully. And she has her moments of badassness. Look it up, I'm pretty sure it's a word. Which is really cool. But the weird thing is, in the last half hour, she becomes an afterthought and just disappears. Which is disappointing because we went through all that with no proper payoff relationship wise between her and Nate. Now these three are not the only ones after the treasure. We have villain 1 and villain 2. Why did I call them this? Well, because they are the most bland villains I have seen in a very long time. Why do they want the treasure? Just cause. That's it. But that wouldn't be too bad if they had entertainment value and had some quirk to them, none of which they have. I mean, how the f*** could you make Antonio Banderas so one note? Where's the chewing of the scenery? I was expecting holes in the wall, people! Or at least some bite marks. Tell you what, if you want to see Banderas in a really good villain role, check out SpongeBob Sponge Out of Water. Seriously, he literally owns that movie. Tati Gabrielle has more to do here, but that really isn't saying much. Sure, she can punch really hard and give orders like a boss, but those are the only things going for her. Which is a shame because even though I haven't seen any of the stuff she was in previous to this, I feel like she could do so much more. There's definitely an action hero in there somewhere. Now, if I was to sum up Uncharted's plot, script and structure with one word, that word would be simple. But that's not a criticism. Sometimes less is more, as long as we have good characters to get behind. I mean, in some ways, the original Star Wars trilogy is simple. But again, it's the characters and the friendships they build along the way. And when they do come face to face with their foes, you really want them to pull through. And Uncharted does this to a certain extent. Like I said before, Nate and Sully work well together and have some light-hearted comedy moments. And the same thing happens when Chloe gets mixed in too. But sometimes it can be a bit too simple. There were a lot of missed opportunities in this film. Again, Nate and Sully meeting for the first time was very underwhelming. The same goes for Chloe's introduction. She just shows up. Sure, we get a fun little chase sequence a minute or so after, but for me it's over way too quickly. There was a short montage of Nate climbing stuff in his apartment, and I thought this was cool because this is what Nathan Drake was known for. In the game he spends half the time climbing stuff to get to his next objective, but he only uses this skill about 1 or 2 times throughout this film. I mean, in Barcelona they could have had him climb the walls of the church to break in and open the door for the others, but no, they just walk in. They even waited till nightfall, and there was literally nothing stopping them. No obstacles till they get to the crypt, no locked doors, and no security. Spain might be a beautiful country, and you also can't complain if your gets stolen. I'd rather watch a scene where Nate is climbing something than sit through a scene where a bad guy is talking about bad guy stuff. Just slow, boring, and pointless. Seriously, I was sitting there and I was just like... Uncharted also relies on action-adventure cliches, which I wouldn't have minded if they put their own clever spin on it. Growing up, I watched a lot of adventure films. The Mask of Zorro, the Mummy movies, Pirates of the Caribbean, and of course, Indiana Jones. By the way, The Last Crusade is the best one. And if you don't like it, you can meet me outside after. Dare you. They even use a map animation like they do in the indie films. Cheeky bastards. The freshness levels are very low here. Again, Sully has indirect connections here with Nate, and that's where the film tries to draw emotion, but it just comes off being a little bit forced. I'm not going to say what the connection is, but I will say that Nate has been getting postcards. In Uncharted, there are actually a few throwbacks to the game, and all of them are really cool. It could be something to do with Nate's clothing, or a location that feels very familiar. Like the 2 ships, they feel like they come out of A Thief's End. There's also a great cameo here which I won't spoil for you. The biggest one being the cargo plane scene. It's like it was plucked out of Drake's Deception. Now when these things do appear, they're all grand, but they are very far in between. The Uncharted series can slide into the silly side of things, but that just adds to the charm of the games. They tried doing this here, but it does end up most of the time being ridiculous. For example, Nate and Chloe might be trying to escape a deadly trap, whilst at the same time, Sully and Villain 2 are having a fight in a Papa John's. You literally can't make this up. Speaking of they say it a lot in this film, and I mean a lot. I feel as though they should have put a counter in a corner like they did in South Park. Getting back to the action, it's all really well done. This is probably the best thing going for Uncharted. It's fun to watch Nate narrowly avoiding death, ducking, dodging and jumping. But you will see this manoeuvre a lot. All the fights are well choreographed and shot, so I have no complaints there. The cargo plane scene was great. It actually had me on the edge a bit, but at some moments the green screen can be quite obvious. I mean, having a conversation on top of a car that's falling out of the sky can only suspend my disbelief for so long. And that scene with the flying ships is pretty sweet. Again, the fighting was nice and you could feel the impact, even though at some points it did feel like a stunt show at a theme park in Florida. These are the moments where the film mostly pays off. A lot of this film can be quite meh, but when you see these action set pieces, you can definitely see the potential. So if they do decide to make a sequel, you can rely on these moments to really deliver. In the end, Uncharted is not the worst video game adaptation. In fact, it's far from it. But that's the biggest issue. It doesn't feel much like Uncharted. It mostly comes down to the casting choices and the missed opportunities to do anything meaningful with the source material. Even though Holland and Wahlberg are a fun duo, this isn't the right film. Chloe Fraser deserved better and the villains, they just straight up sucked. And even though the film may be a bit too straightforward, there is still a lot of fun to be had here. Exploring trap-filled crypts to the fight scenes, especially the ones where they go big. That's where they deliver. So if you like your adventure flicks, you might have a good time here. But if you're a fan of Uncharted like me, and I can prove it, which is that and that and that and that. The third one I downloaded, okay? You might struggle to look past some of its shortcomings. So for me, I don't see myself rewatching this one anytime soon. But if they do go ahead with a sequel, let's hope this one will be a bit more off the chart. Seriously though, look at that tash. Somebody get a blowtorch and burn that shit. And those are my thoughts on Uncharted. But what do you guys think? Have you seen the film? What is your favourite Uncharted game? And do you think Golden Abyss deserves a remastered console version? Comment down below and let me in the know. And that's about everything for today, my friends, and thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like what you saw, make sure you like, share and subscribe, hit that bell for notifications, and follow me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. I've been Titch, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care!